ahead.
So Tara Reid is a staffer, or was a staffer of his, for about 6 minutes in 1993, and she claimed a year ago that he had put his hands on her shoulder and ran his fingers up her hair or her neck or something, and then now, a few weeks ago, she claims that she was instructed to go get him a gym bag and to bring it to him, and then at that time he kind of pressed her up against a wall or something and put his hands up her underneath her clothes, and somehow, I don't know if it was a dress or not, but underneath her clothes, and started kissing her and penetrated her with his hands. So the first problem was that she's changed the story herself from a year ago until now. But then her own family, some of her friends, her brother, confirmed that she did say that back, years ago. This was in 1993, when she worked for him in the Senate. The New York Times, I saw, they researched it for a few weeks after the claim was made. They talked to tons of people that worked for him, and they said that no one could confirm this type of activity. I mean, we know, we've seen him put his hands on people and put his hands on their shoulder and run his fingers through even little girls' hair. So that claim from a year ago, maybe made some sense, based on what we've seen of Joe. But this accusation doesn't sound quite like what we think of as Joe. But this was in the early 90s. Maybe he felt powerful, So there's audio now that has come out that makes this look a little worse. And I think some of the Republicans are starting to jump on this, where in 1993, on a Larry King show, a woman from California, where Tara Reid is from, called in and said, I'm the mother of this girl, and she just had this issue with a prominent senator, and she doesn't really know where to go. They're kind of shutting her down, and she doesn't feel like there's much of an avenue for her to go to the police. She doesn't want to make this super public out of respect for the senator. So it's getting to be more of a story, while it's still all circumstantial.
Right. And we have that audio as well.
We're back. A couple more phone calls on this very important topic. Our guests are former United States Senator Howard Baker, Richard Allen, former National Security Advisor, and Lois Romano of the Washington Post. San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
Yes, hello. I'm wondering what a staffer would do besides go to the press in Washington. My daughter has just left there after working for a prominent senator and could not get through with her problems at all. And the only thing she could have done was go to the press, and she chose not to do it out of respect for him.
Or she had a story to tell, but out of respect for the person she worked for, she didn't tell it.
That's true.
Well, but these are the people who do come to the Lois Romanos, right? The staff worker who says, I want to let you know about what's going on, either with my boss or the guy down the hall.
And a lot of these people have a sense of obligation. They feel that this public official should be accountable if it's something wrong.
They're whistleblowers to the press.
Exactly.
I do have here, she did file a police report, I think last Thursday. Now, I think the statute of limitations has already run out on this, but this would maybe bring more legitimacy to her claim, because if you make a false police report, that's punishable by fine or prison. So, I don't know if it's legitimate, or maybe her strategy to make it seem more legitimate. And if this does anything for her respectability, she says she once favored Marianne Williamson in the primary. So I don't want to not believe her, but that ain't something I can really put much faith in, folks. So what do you think, considering everything that Kavanaugh went through, with what I would think is even less circumstantial evidence than we have here with Tara Reid? And by the way, this is not the hot, raspy blonde from American Pie. Totally different person.
Well, here's the thing with Justice Kavanaugh. It seemed kind of similar here. I could kind of see a mirror of two sides. I mean, you have a story that's changing on one side with Joe Biden and his accuser, and on the other side, with Kavanaugh, you have someone who didn't know the date of the party, who didn't know, simple details about their location. There was even witnesses that were kind of against her in that sense. Now, that being said, I do think that the idea of this due process and go forward with whatever process is needed is important, right? Because if we're gonna go on the notion that like we got to believe women, or like if this is an actual case, like you have to follow through with it. There needs to be follow through. I'm not like, don't send Joe, to jail, right? Like not right off the bat. Like go through the process. Let's figure out if anything is substantial here, and then we move forward, right? I do think if the same story came out with Trump, explosion. Plain and simple explosion. The media would go off on it. I do see the media kind of not talking about this too much unless it's on the right. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm going to stay with that due process idea. Like, go through with it. Figure it out.
Right.
So nothing to hide. Don't hide it.
For me, I don't think that the media has done anything wrong with the Biden case so far. The New York Times did research it. They did report on it. Other outlets have done this. I think the issue is, to your point, is that that's not the way it was with Kavanaugh. I don't think that it's wrong the way they're doing it now,
right?
But it certainly looks hypocritical because of the way they did it before,
right,
with even less evidence.
Right.
Not that we have hard evidence with Joe, but we have some decent circumstantial evidence. When you listen to that video, it makes you think, well, that easily could happen with a senator. Now, you said the media might blow up if it was Trump. The media would blow up, probably. I don't know that anybody would care. I mean, he has had several of his own accusations, some
sure,
with evidence. He's had his own comments, about putting his hand places, which brings up another issue. Neither side really can call out the other for bad actions,
right?
Or maybe the Democrats can when it comes to Trump, if these accusations aren't true. But if they were true, it's hard for the right to really stand up on a platform and say that this is terrible because of their own candidate. So I think that's also sad that we're in that situation where it's basically going to be, who do you like, more of the two.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think that stories change over time because they're untrue, or just because the right or wrong outlets reached? So Tara Reid, for example, right here, if her story changed or details weren't included back then, does that necessarily make them untrue in a way? Like, does she lose credibility because that story changes? Because we've seen stories change in various topics, and doesn't mean that they're necessarily like throw them out the window.
Yeah, I agree. No, I don't think that it makes them untrue, because we know that there's a lot of reasons why women don't speak out at first, or say things maybe that aren't exactly what happened. Even, they're not being honest at the time, but they have reasons for not being honest. It's not that they're now just trying to write a book and make millions of dollars. That's why with me, with the Kavanaugh situation, it's not that I would have ever put him behind bars for these circumstantial evidence that was presented, but it did at times seem like maybe enough to keep him from being on the Supreme Court. So with Joe, I don't think there's any chance of him, doing time like Weinstein or something for this, but it's a question for the American people to look at the evidence and go, do we think this matters? But unfortunately, because of the incumbent president and his actions, even if the worst of this is true, well, we already have Trump on tape saying, what he does with his hands or has in the past. Again, this would have been in the 90s for Joe, so it wasn't last week. So both of them have the argument of, well, that was a long time ago, even if true, and I was a powerful person that, people let me do that, or something like that.
Right. I heard a quote by her. I'm not sure if this quote is recent or not, but she told the media what Joe had said to her at the time. And it was something along the lines of like, "Hey, man," and it was just like a tone that sounded just like Biden. Like when she said it, I was like, "Whoa," because that's kind of his.
I think it was like, "Come on, man!
Come on, man!
I heard you like
right."
me," which does kind of sound like him.
Right, and there are a lot of times where he does appear to be creepy, and I don't know if he's doing it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if that's really him or he's just like a few cans short of a six-pack sometimes, like just not knowing what state he's just, like Joe Biden. It's his thing. But again, I don't know. I guess we'll see. It's
with the little girls, it's like I could see him being just the type of guy that a lot of people respect him. A lot of people think he's a good guy. Maybe he just is that type of politician or person that likes to put his hand on your shoulder, and so I wanted to give it a pass, but some of these videos, I'm like, I couldn't really see myself doing that.
Right.
I couldn't really see myself putting my hands on a 12-year-old girl in that way. Right. So it is kind of odd. I can't deny that.
And then during his time in office as vice president, I always looked at him as like a bro. Like he was Obama's bro. You know what I mean? Like super bro code. And then it seemed like once that administration ended, and he went, on his own, it kind of that's where I saw it the most. Him sitting in the pool or outside of the pool and talking to the kids about his hair and his legs and stuff. It's just like, again, Trump is no one to compare him to the stuff that he says behind the scenes too. But still, I'm curious where this is going to go, if it's even going to go anywhere.
Yeah, same.